Hello everyone, today we're going to be going over home inspections and termite inspections. I switched it up a little bit just because I needed to get another booklet for short sales, so I promise that'll still happen, but just on another day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with everyone. Share, perfect. And now what I'm going to show you is a home inspection report, termite inspection report, and also what I do with them, how I do it. That way you guys can see everything the way it's done with me. So let me pull it up here. So the very first thing we're going to look at is a termite inspection. Every house that's getting a loan has to have a termite inspection, termite and moisture inspection. So if you guys are ever ordering the inspection, make sure they do termite and moisture. There's some companies out there that solely do termite and some that solely do moisture. So you want to make sure both do termite and moisture. When we're looking at this one, it looks like it's Chesapeake Pest Control. You can see the property address, it was inspected. And then on this one, this is a good one, it says there's no visible evidence of any wood destroying insects, which is good. Now, if they saw stuff like live insects, dead insects, visible damage, then that stuff is going to have to get taken care of. And when we do see that, then they attach a bill of what it would cost to take to fix. And basically, whoever orders it is like if I'm the buyer and I have Chesapeake Pest Control come out and take a look, and if they find the damage, technically I have to get them to take care of the damage. Now, at this point, I can ask the seller, hey, can I get a second opinion? Is it okay if I get a second person out there, just because if this bill is $5,000, you know, that's most likely going to go past the cap. I want to see if someone else is going to charge something different. And I've had that happen before where, you know, we found like $3,000 worth of moisture damage in the house. And I was on the seller side. Yeah. So we had $3,000 worth of moisture damage, went past the cap. And then we were able to get another company out there who was only going to charge $2,200. So we're like, perfect. We're going to go with them, get that fixed, as long as we keep it within the cap. Here, there's no structural or anything like that. Sometimes they say if there's stuff in the way that they can't move, like if there's a couch, they're not going to move the couch because they don't want to be liable for the stuff. If any treatment is recommended, no, that's good. Treatment is not a cheap thing either. It's usually like $750. So some inspectors, like if they want money, honestly, they'll say, hey, we recommend this, and you honestly have nothing to do. You have to do it, which kind of sucks. Here it shows where they inspected, and then all the numbers go with this, and then who signed off on it. So the buyer always has to sign off on it, and then it's sent by DocuSign, which is nice. And over here, they're just showing some additional info. But this is a good report. This is what you want to see when you're getting the report. And also the lender requires it. So for them to keep going through the loan, they have to get this no matter what. So the way it works with the cap, usually we have it built in the contract. If you're working with the buyer, there's a 1% cap for termite, appraisal, moisture, septic, any of that stuff. So usually this is what happens within that cap. So if you get a $200,000 house, the cap is usually $2,000. As long as we stay below that $2,000 mark, we're fine. Sellers have to fix it no matter what it is. If it goes above that, now it's negotiable. And really, we're going to make it to where they have to do that 1%. But ultimately, like if I'm the buyer side and the bill's $2,500, so $500 past the cap, I'm like, hey, look, you're going to have this pop up for every single buyer. You guys are taking care of it. That way, your buyer doesn't have to cough up $500. So that's usually how I go about that one. Let's see another termite and moisture report. This one is done by Reliance Pest and Termite. Looks very, very similar. It's actually the same exact form. Again, there's no visible evidence. If there's any structures in the way, or is there a treatment recommended? No. And then where they inspected. I guess this one I didn't get the signed copy, but that's okay. This one shows the moisture report. So this one's on a slab, which is good because slabs are not on a crawl, and crawls usually have the most problems. So when I just built my house, I built it on a raised slab because crawls, like they're known for moisture damage in our area. Usually people don't take care of them. You really have to upkeep with it. And if you don't, I mean, stuff will start growing down there. The wood will start rotting away. And then it's not something you see every day. So it just gets worse and worse and worse. So that's why I like slabs, because they're very quick. And usually what the people do is they just take a little screwdriver and poke at the wood on the baseboard. That's it, throughout the whole house. So it's pretty nice. Or sometimes they'll even just take a flashlight and look around. This inspection is literally 10 minutes long. So it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice having a slab. In a crawl, they have to go under, check everything out. So it's a little longer. Your buyer doesn't have to be there for this, the termite and moisture, because really they're there for 15, 20 minutes. But for the home inspection, you want to make sure they're there. So it's nice. On this one, we can see that there was nothing that needed to get done. Oh, and actually, yes, go ahead.
This is usually a seller responsibility, but a buyer can he or she choose to do so.
Yeah, so usually the seller will pay for it, but then it depends on the contract who orders it. So sometimes me as a buyer's agent will say, we're going to order the termite inspection, or sometimes we'll say the seller's going to order the termite inspection. Usually if I'm on the buy side, I let the seller order it, because they most likely have a termite and moisture company coming out yearly or quarterly to make sure everything's fine, which everyone should, because it's definitely not something we normally check. It's really when it goes past the cap of the 1% where things get a little tricky. So that's what I was saying, like there we would use that as a negotiation tool, saying this is going to pop up for every single buyer that comes across this. You know, we don't want to walk away. We want you guys to take care of it. We want to keep going through the house, but you got to take care of that $500. So what's nice about this one, Reliance Pass and Termite, they're actually my go-to people anyways. I didn't even order their support, but they're very transparent. They show everything. You can see all their stuff. You can see the invoice. This is what normally their invoice would look like if it needed way more stuff, and then you would see the bill. Here, this report's only $65. So just say we throw in the contract, seller to pay for termite. They come back and say, no, buyer pays termite. I go to my people like, look, $65. Is that going to deter you from the house? No, $65 really isn't. And if they say yes, then I'm like, I'll pay the $65. It's $65. There could be worse problems. So the termite and moisture is pretty cheap. It's when the home inspection where it gets a little pricier. But what's also cool about Reliance, what they do is they offer a 1-year termite retreatment at no cost to you within a year, as long as your people call within 30 days. So I always tell them about that. That's why I love Reliance, because they're so on it. We've had it before in the past where other companies would miss stuff. And then, you know, 2 years later, you're getting the phone call saying, why didn't we get this popped up in our termite inspection? Had that happen to me. You know, we had a termite inspection 3 years ago. And last year, the guy called me saying, I've got insane termites on my window. Why didn't they pick that up? And supposedly, somehow, somewhere, someone missed it, didn't look, and then the company actually came back out, because you save all the files, who did it. I called them up, I told them what's going on. They met my buyer at the house, and they fixed everything because they knew they should have found something a couple of years ago, which is pretty cool.
Sweet.
Yeah, that was pretty good. So now we're going to go over to the home inspection report. My favorite home inspector is Clay Bryant with Beach Home Inspections. It's solely Clay that owns it. Yeah, I know you know him, AJ. So this is one of my buyer's houses that they just bought. He always takes a photo of the front of the home. And then what's nice is he goes over every single thing that is a concern to him. Goes over major, minor, really not important stuff. But what I usually do is I extract all the data from this, and then that's where I create my PICRA. So, we would see major concern here, even though this isn't really a major concern. This was actually a pretty easy house, but yeah, no, it wasn't. Yeah. So on easier houses, even when there's not much there, the inspectors still have to find stuff. So if it's a perfect house, they're going to find one or two things, no matter what. It's their job. Home inspections generally run around $325. That has to be paid up front. The termite inspection gets paid on the CD. So, whenever I'm having a buyer consultation, I'll tell them, hey, look, just prep for the $325, give or take. Goes based off square foot. If it's smaller, maybe a little less. If it's bigger, you know, it's going to cost a little bit more. But you do have to pay the guy the day of the inspection. But what's so nice with clay is he shows every little thing. He even points out what it looks like. He talks here about moisture damage and how you can see it. His eye is incredible, and he sees the smallest stuff I would never even notice.
Also, places cash, check, or
Yeah, he takes all three. So clay takes cash, check, and credit card, which is pretty nice. But this dude, he knows his stuff. And I mean, he does all his inspections within an hour, and you see his report here is just to the minor, smallest detail, which is unbelievable. And the cool part is about clay is you get this entire report directly after your home inspection. So that way you can see immediately what's going on. You can send it to the listing agent right away. And that way you can see everything and point stuff out to them. Like, hey, on page 11, you know, go to the photos, you can look right at this. So it's pretty cool. And the stuff he sees honestly blows my brain. A lot of the stuff I would never even notice.
He said, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Well, that's kind of talking. I was just gonna say he said he built this software himself, right? To like push together his report.
Kind of, and then he had someone build it with him. Yeah. So he spent a good amount of money for it, but what he's got now is truly incredible. I'll show you another home inspection report. That way you guys can compare the two. But even just like saying, hey, look, this deck piece was put on the wrong side. It's mind blowing what he sees. So he goes over everything with you. I mean, there's common stuff he's going to put every single time. Like, for instance, this outside spigot, he's always going to say there's no backflow preventer. And, you know, that stuff doesn't really matter. So the more you do, the more you'll see what matters and what doesn't matter. And then from this report, I actually pull out how I do the PICRAs. That way I can show you guys what's kind of important to me and what's not. But this was an older house. My people knew it. So there's just a bunch of small little stuff that they want to take care of. But
that can be scary. Like if you get a nervous buyer, like the guy who was a military guy, he was an electrician by trade. So Clay did this thing, and you know, it was almost like a death by thousand cuts. So the guy was scared. So, but the way Austin does extract that data, and I've never done like that, but it makes sense because it can.
Yeah, to the most buyers, you know, looking at this is kind of it is scary. I mean, you see a lot of things wrong with the house, and you're like, oh my God, the house is falling apart. But when you look at it, you know, it's not really horrible stuff. It's literally just a normal house. But Clay's reports are awesome. But it's our job to extract that data and be able to talk to our buyers about it. So what I do is I take out everything that I find bad with the house, or not bad, but what Clay said about it. So here, Clay said something about 35 items. So what I did was I took each item out, and then what I did was I broke it in 3 categories. And this is what I sent over to my buyer. That way they can see it, and they can make their own opinion on what needs to be fixed, what doesn't need to be fixed. That way they're not coming to me years later saying, hey, why didn't you tell me to fix this? It's like, hey, I gave you my opinion. Ultimately, you choose. And I'm telling you here what I think we should and shouldn't fix. That way we can get everything that we want, because, you know, if I ask for all 35 items, you know, that seller is probably going to be pretty upset at you. You know, when they see a PICRA that is 37 items, like, look at this one. So we actually took the same exact one and broke it down from.
Mine was 137.
Yeah, yeah. So on this one, we actually broke it down to 25. So we were able to take out 10, which is pretty good. And even 25 is still a lot, but we knew they were going to counter back, and most sellers will. So you can see there's scratch marks all throughout with initials everywhere. You know, that's kind of expected. So if we have 25 items and they cross off 3 of them, so they're still going to take care of 22 items, that's actually still pretty good, in my opinion, because that way the buyers can know they're getting a nice sound house that is actually good. But let me go back over here. So all the yellow is stuff that I tell them, hey, I see this repeatedly, you know, I really think we should get this taken care of. Anything in green is like, you know, that could get taken care of, but, you know, it's not really a necessity. Like installing a GFCI protected ground outlet, You know, I highly recommend those for bathrooms and kitchens. But when they start saying garages and all that, you know, you don't really need it for the garage. It's nice to have, but you don't need to. It wasn't required by code. Anti-tip devices. Those are the devices that go on the back of a stove or oven. That way it doesn't tip over if someone's standing on the door. But then again, how many people are actually going to stand on the door to tip the whole thing over? Not many. So it's stuff like that. Smoke detectors. You know, smoke detectors are dollars. They're not that much. They're very easy to install. It's not really stuff that you should ask the seller to fix or put in. Really, they should be taking care of the main important stuff. And like worn, damage, falling, missing insulation. You know, that I say that takes more priority over than installing smoke detectors. There was stuff in the firebox, evidence of moisture through the brick. You know, that one is a tough one, because if you look at the photo, or if you even look inside of it, you didn't see much, but we still included it in there. Loose handrails, you know, this one little handrail that he's talking about, all it needed to do was be screwed in a little more. I've seen it before too, where people are like, tighten toilet seat. And I'm like, dude, no, we're not asking to tighten the toilet seat. You know, honestly, you should just replace the toilet seat, because it's very gross of keeping someone else's. So that's the first thing I would do. But let's go over some of the main important stuff. So like moisture damaged windows, you know, definitely need to be repaired or replaced. You can't have any moisture damage on the house. You know, if there's still evidence of moisture damage, an appraiser is going to come in and say, hey, this has to be taken care of. Then that's going to fall within the cap. So we're still asking it during the PICRA. If they said no to this, like, appraiser's going to ask for it anyways. So it's going to be within the cap. You might as well just take care of it. The roof, this one was interesting too, because the roof needed to kind of be serviced, but not really. It was a very interesting case, but anything when it comes to roofs, you know, I'd rather it be looked at than not. Water stains, you always want water stains looked at. If there's any fungus on wood, that definitely doesn't sound good, so you probably want that looked at. Again, anything with insulation, especially that's damaged, falling, missing, you know, you want to take care of. If an open power junction box at the wall, you know, you don't want someone touching something like that and getting electrocuted, even though they probably wouldn't. It's just not good to have. The exterior vent cover is clogged with lint. You know, that's not a necessity either, but it's good to get it taken care of. You don't want any potential fires in the future. GFCI here I put for both bathrooms. Loose metal trim wrap, you know, if you get any of the metal trim that's loose, that could potentially get inside the house, and you don't want that. Caulking just helps, just to prevent moisture again. Cracking noted the cement chimney crown, that's definitely a good thing to take care of. Number 23 is in gray, because that was something I said we should not fix. And that was just because it was saying multiple deck boards were installed upside down. Again, that was the photo of the wood that he said was installed upside down. Honestly, that's not going to be a big concern way later, because those were brand new. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that one's not really big. Let's see what else. Insulating the primary drain line is a good one. I've actually seen that, especially in my new house, because they all they all build up the condensation on the pipes, and you know, they drip into the pan. But yeah, he did actually, and he pointed out to me. So if you insulate that, it's not going to do that. So it's a lot better to have. No ice maker water line. You know, there wasn't any water line, so it couldn't make ice or water. Bathroom door not latching, you know, it's always good to have doors when they close. Anything leaking you want to take care of. A bathroom stopper is honestly not that bad. You could buy those for $1 at the dollar store. It's not really a major thing, but you know, just to see if we can get it. If that's one of the things they cross off, okay, that's fine. We could pay $1. And then doors not latching again. Weather stripping, you always want to get taken care of, because you don't want potential moisture coming in. Anything with insulation falling, and then loose foundation wall vents. Because it was a crawl on this one, The foundation vents were for some reason taken out, and Clay explained it, but I'm not a home inspector, so I can't describe it as good as Clay does. So then when we go over to the PICRA, basically what I do here is I take out what he said, and then what I do is I go back and rewrite this, just because, sorry about that, just because the way Clay words it is a home inspector writing it, not a real estate agent. So you have to be very careful when you're writing this stuff, because someone can interpret something completely different. If someone just puts repair/replace roof, like what exactly does that mean? Does that mean, okay, if I put a little patch on the roof, it's repaired? Me as a seller could do that, but the buyers wanted the whole roof replaced. So really it's up to the agent here to make sure you get that covered. So I want to go back and find one, because I heard a horror story of an agent getting really, really screwed one time, because that's what they put, repair/replace roof, when they really wanted the roof to be replaced. So this one right here is actually a good example of how we worded it for the roof to get replaced. So really that was the only thing we asked for. Replace roof by removing shingles, flashing, and damaged plywood, install new plywood in damaged areas, clean the roof, install new underlayment and new flashing, and install new 30-year architectural shingles with buyer's color of choice up to $7,200. So that is something very good to put in the PICRA. If I just put repair/replace, anyone can interpret that in a bunch of different ways. So you always want to be as descriptive as possible. Sometimes you don't need to be, but it might as well just be on the safe side.
Clay told you to put that language in?
No, this right here I did myself, just because I actually looked up the process of how to do a roof. So then that's when I was like, remove shingles, remove the flashing, install new plywood, clean the roof, install new underlayment.
You got a seller who's a novice, and the agent.
Mm-hmm.
So the agent was novice. They were like, okay, who wrote this? But like you said, you went and did your homework on the internet.
Yeah, exactly. On that one, I did, and then we also got multiple quotes as well. So then that's where the 7,200 came from. So then the 7,200 would take care of the entire cost of that. So I made sure I got the quote before I submitted the PICRA. And something important about the PICRA too is, so we'll go over to a contract. That way you guys can see where this is in the standard purchase agreement. Oh man, it's not there. Give me 1 second. Because it's important to see. Nope. Get to see my shopping stuff. Currently looking for rugs for the place. I know, fun stuff.
Let your girl handle all that.
Yeah, I don't want to touch it. All right, so let's log in. And then if you guys have a transaction coordinator, they'll upload all this for you. Sometimes they'll even write your PICRAs. So you can even just send her the Microsoft Word doc, and then she'll take care of the rest. Because it is a tedious thing. It does take some time to do. And, it's not always fun stuff either. So let me go to Somerton. We're going to go to the documents. And then we are going to go to the standard purchase agreement. Boom. So let me zoom this in. All right, so we can see here the contract. I'm going to scroll down to where it talks about the cap and the home inspection. So something interesting to think about as well is property condition right here. If you're walking through the house and you see the fence falling over and you want to make sure the fence is going to get taken care of, you don't, because the PICRA is negotiable, you don't want to try and negotiate the fence. You want the fence taken care of. You would put that here saying seller must take care of fence and repair that, obviously in different verbiage, but that is something I do often. If I see something major, I don't even want to take the chance of negotiating with the PICRA. I want it in the contract up front. But over here, this is where we're asking about the 1% cap. You know, if we leave this blank, it's automatically 1%. Talks about if there's any wood destroying insects, moisture, inspections, repairs. Talks about water and septic, and then it also talks about appraisals as well. So it's subject to the cap to make sure, because all of that has to be completed, all of that, before the loan can go through. So remember, appraisals, home inspections, termite inspections, or not home inspections, sorry, termite inspections, wood destroying insects, moistures, and then septic tanks as well, and wells. So you don't deal with that as much in Virginia, but you know, if you're in deep Suffolk or deep Chesapeake, then you'll start seeing some wells and septics. So those are always pretty interesting. But we'll go down here. So this is here us saying the seller will get the termite inspection at the seller's expense. Usually that's what I would put if I was a buyer, just because, you know, the seller most likely is getting it already. This is saying they must get it within 10 days. And if they don't, then we can get it, and then they have to reimburse us $125. So even though it's $65, you know, if it goes past the 10 days, then now we can actually do it, and then they go up to the $125. Here, this is going to talk about the drinking water and septic, and if there was a septic, but we didn't have any. This talks about the walkthrough inspection. So with walkthrough, what we do is we're going to go back about 3-4 days before closing, and then check the PICRA, make sure they fixed everything on it. And you do that because if there's 25 items on there, you know, how many sellers actually will fix all 25 items? They'll probably fix 21 or 22. So then that's when you say, all right, here you guys go. You got to fix these 3 items. We'll be back in 2 days before closing again, because the worst thing is to delay closing because of the walkthrough. It's never fun. And then what we're going to do as well is we're going to go over the PICA or PICA or whatever you want to call it. Once this loads. Documents. And here it is. So this right here is saying we're going to get a home inspection. So it says we're home inspection. Seller shall have all utilities on for the inspection. So sometimes sellers won't have the water on. Sometimes they won't have the gas on. Sometimes they won't have the electric on. They'll still inspect, but they're not going to be able to cover everything they can. So the inspector will have to go back out there, and it's never fun when that happens. If you have to get an EFIS inspection, if you have to get a lead-based paint, or anything specific. Other inspections can be like pool, so that's where you put all that stuff. And then this is saying we have to get the inspection done within 10 days. It goes past the 10 days, and it's not even the inspection within 10 days. We have to get the PICRA right here, the property inspection contingency removal addendum, in within 10 days. And if we don't, then the seller technically doesn't have to fix anything. So you'll see some house flippers that say, hey, you have to get this to me in 5 days. And usually that's kind of tough because most home inspectors or home inspectors are booked out like a week. So it's always tough. I make mine for 10 days or 14 days. You know, give us at least 2 weeks. But you know, if you've got to rush things, then you try and make it as soon as possible. And then it talks about requested repairs will be in the PICRA. Time is of the essence, and that is about it. So we've gone over home inspections, termite inspections. You know, well and septic is a little different story. You know, if we ever come across that, let me know. It's not something I come across too often, but I've done them. Yeah, you really won't see them until you go to North Carolina, and then everyone has it. So it's definitely pretty funny when it comes to Virginia.
When I was going there back in the rural area, they had septic tank, they actually sit out in the yard somewhere.
Yep. They make above ground septics, which is kind of an eyesore.
Well, my friend fell in one of them.
Yikes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that sounds disgusting. Oh my gosh. Well, do you guys have any questions or anything you guys think of? No?
I mean, I think I already know the answer, but so the home inspection and the termite stuff, that's completely separate, right?
Yes. Okay. So those are 2 different reports. So like, for instance, we'll have Clay Bryant from Beach Home Inspections in his report. and then we'll have Reliance Pest Control in their report. You know, but the home inspection really is just a contingency that we're saying, hey, you know, we want to get a home inspection and then ask you to fix it. You know, you can always get a house without a home inspection, but you have to get a house with the termite and moisture inspection if they're getting a loan. If they're doing cash, you technically don't have to do either, only if they want it, of course. We've done cash before where they wanted both. I've done cash before where they didn't want either. I've done properties before where they just bought it as is, but decided to get the termite and moisture inspection. So everything can vary, and it's nice because it really makes real estate interesting. You know, it's kind of the same process, but it's different every time. So if you guys don't have any questions, you know, always feel free to reach out to me.
Will do.